Hey, what's up, Flat Earth Society? I have a new episode of the Old 52 where we take a look at the #1 issues of now defunct series, dust them off, and talk about how awesome they are. Or kind of mediocre or whatever. That's not the case this week because we have an awesome one. We have The Question from 1986 by Dennis O'Neil, Dennis Cohen. And fun fact about Watchmen, which I'm sure most people know, is that Alan Moore's original idea was to use the Carlton characters that DC Comics had acquired not that long beforehand. And they took a look at what he was doing and where he was going with the storyline, and they suggested to kind of use those characters to inspire other characters, which is how he developed them into the Watchmen. Which is why Captain Atom became Dr. Manhattan, and Rorschach had developed out of being the Question. And this is where this came from. Question is a Steve Ditko character from the 60s in the Carlton years. And he is Vic Sage, a detective hero with a mask that can make his face seem blank. And in real life, he is a investigative reporter for local TV in Hub City. And this series starts out with him already in action. This is, by the way, I don't have the original issue. I'm just reading from the trade, which is actually very nicely recolored, by the way. Vic is investigating corruption going on within his city. It opens up with him breaking into a criminal den to steal a videotape. Remember those? And this tape had apparently had some incriminating evidence on it. He beats the crap out of a couple of henchmen as this mysterious woman just watches. And, like, hey, you know, okay, go ahead. I don't care. He eventually goes right to the news station and plays this tape where it was a high-ranking official who was doing some Marion Barry-ish inspired shenanigans with a prostitute and drugs. And they were basically kind of keeping this tape blackmailing him so they could, constantly, manipulate the process. Cut to our evil henchmen, bad guys. There is apparently like this bigwig, but his advisor is Reverend Hatch, who actually is the mastermind behind everything. He is secretly controlling everything through a weak figurehead. Anyway, cut to Vic's life, and Vic Sage is kind of pretty much like the more gruff, kind of nihilistic style of character that Steve Ditko imagined. And he goes off onto we get to reintroduce his technical guru, Tot, who helped makes a lot of his equipment, specifically the mask. What's interesting in this moment, he actually tells him that the mask was having trouble. It was slipping. He could talk through it, see through it just fine, but it was kind of moving a little bit during the fighting. He suggests that his smoking has something to do with it, because the mask actually, the way it adheres to the wearer, it actually kind of like adheres to their chemical compound. He can actually set it. Because he was smoking, it was actually altering that. So he says, okay, I'll kind of quit, I'll kind of slow down with the cigarettes. Which is interesting foreshadowing, because later, years later in the comics, he would actually develop cancer. Anyway, he gets deeper involved with these criminals until he is actually set up for a trap where the mysterious woman reveals herself once again. She is Lady Shiva, who is one of my all-time favorite DC villains, actually. And as written by Denny O'Neil, she is always awesome. He kind of often writes her... He tends to write her very mysterious, manipulative, and with this weird sense of right and wrong. And the reason she didn't attack earlier was because she wasn't paid to fight him and protect the tape. That wasn't any kind of agreement that they had made. She wasn't being paid for that, so he can take it. I don't care. This time around, she is paid to attack him after she tells the boss that. And I guess he has to be specific. Like, okay, the question, I want you to kill that guy. And in one page, she beats the shit out of him. For those of you who don't know, Lady Shiva, up until this point, was the best martial artist in the DC universe. Only to be beaten later by Cassandra Cain, the Cassandra Cain Batgirl. So she quickly dispatches him. Hatch's henchmen come in and further, like, brutalize him with a pipe over and over again and throw him into the river, presumably dead. And what Danny O'Neill does is something I've noticed what he's done with several characters. I've seen him do this with Wonder Woman, Batman, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, and right here with the question is he kind of sends these characters off onto this kind of spiritual journey where they kind of rediscover themselves, usually through a horrible incident, which kind of sets the wheels in motion, much like here. But instead of the situation turning the character darker and grimmer, like a lot of superheroes can be in similar storylines, they actually kind of find themselves a little bit better and achieve like a sense of zen. And that's clearly what he does here. This is really wonderful. If you dig the question, Vic Sage, primarily introduced maybe through the Justice League Unlimited series, or maybe the 52, or even just recently with his reintroduction. This is recommended reading. Actually, the entire series. You can pick up this trade. This trade is $20. I'm not too sure how much the individual issues are if you find them, but I totally recommend picking this entire thing up. Danny O'Neill knew his question very well, I thought. That's it for now. I do want to make a couple of quick plugs. I have a Patreon going on, so if you want me to help make more of these, you can contribute and check out the Patreon below. I'll list the link. I'll make it worth your while. There are rewards and incentives there. And you can keep track of the progress of the book. Also, hey, speaking of Patreon, let's see, my wife Lindsay just started one for her business, Silent Orchid. So if you want to help her make more of Tiny Floating Whale or the Push Me Pull You or other types of creatures, check out the link below, and she has rewards and incentives too. I think that's it for now, so until then, push the button, Lindsay.